It's that time of the week again where we go bargain hunting on the eShop, cutting through the sea of junk to help uncover those deals worth considering across the UK, US and EU eShops. I'm James Armello, and before we jump in, I wanted to highlight our sponsor of this episode, HyperCharge Unboxed. This is a project of passion from a team that have created a real love letter to the toys of our childhood in the form of a superb FPS game with tower defense and wave-based mechanics. What I love about this game is how the developers are constantly adding new online, solo, and local content, which is always great to see, so be sure to check this one out. Alright, let's jump in and take a look at this week's deals. Kicking things off with my pick of the week, and I'm changing it up this time. The Switch version of Armello is an excellent port. If you're unfamiliar with the game, it is a board game which was made digitally, so it isn't trying to replicate a physical board and cram it into a digital version. It is built to be digital, and it shows with its lovely graphics and mechanics that suit the game really well. It combines strategic gameplay with RPG elements and card games, and has lots of depth and tactical elements to it, with multiple win conditions and various modes and difficulties on offer. What I like about this game is that it's one of the few board games that can really be enjoyed when playing solo. It's $7.99 in the US or $5.99 in the UK, which is a solid price for sure. Juan, Jordan, what are your picks this week?
Thanks very much, James. I love a good twin-stick shooter, and this week I've gone with HyperParasite, with over 80% off in all regions, a proper good bargain for a game which has over 60 characters which you can control through the parasite, which has a massive grudge against humanity. You are basically the body snatcher, and I love the fact that absorbing a host gives you differing abilities dependent on the person. Selling brains you have collected from bosses to the shopkeeper is hilarious, as this is a roguelite. Each playthrough is different. A decent challenge awaits throughout. It's 5 acts and was a game I really rather enjoyed, so for the price, this is a no-brainer, no pun intended. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Jordan here with my bargain of the week. You know I can't resist a good JRPG. Well, how about 2-in-1 this week? We've got Grandia HD Collection now sitting handsomely at 50% off everywhere, and this is a 2-in-1 of the classic RPGs from back in the day, Grandia 1 and Grandia 2. Both are very respectable and hold up surprisingly well today. Now, these ports don't have too many bells and whistles, but for me, it's the best way to play these classic games, and now just £18 in the UK and $20 US and euros, I think that is a great price. I wish it was this price at the beginning, because I think it would have sold a shed load more right from the start. If you like Final Fantasy or the Tales of games, then definitely pick up this charming little package.
Alright, that's some lovely picks there, chaps. Next up, it's Northgard. This is a Norse-inspired RTS game that feels an underrepresented genre on the Switch. A lot of real-time strategy games just don't port well onto consoles because of the fast-paced nature of them, which can be difficult to map to a controller. Thankfully here, the gameplay is a little bit slower, lending itself well to the Switch. The cartoon style is reminiscent of mobile phone games, which some will like and others won't, but the gameplay is solid, there's no doubt about that. It combines action strategy and 4X simulation building like Civilization. It's engaging without being too heavy, making it well balanced for game pros and those simply curious to try something new. Now, before we jump into the next game, I wanted to just take a quick moment to highlight that we are delighted to launch our new channel, GamesXpanse, which focuses on PS5 and Xbox Series X content. A massive thank you to those who've checked it out and given us some positive feedback, and a real special thank you to Joel Parker, who helped us put that list together. If interested in those consoles as well, we've just released our first video covering the top 10 PS5 games right now, which you can check out by clicking the link above. We'll be back there once a week with new videos, and don't worry, our SwitchWatch schedule is not going to change either. Anyway, let's crack on. Picking up Evoland is like taking a history lesson through the evolution of RPGs. It's an interesting concept, and in this legendary edition, you have the first title and second to enjoy. The first starts all the way back at pixelated, monochrome, top-down Zelda-style gameplay, moving up to 3D turn-based JRPG games, reminiscent of the Final Fantasy series. It's a bit of an in-joke, poking fun at the genre's history, whilst paying homage, but doesn't particularly excel. Part 2 is much more accomplished. It has more to offer with its story, and whilst it's quite a vanilla experience, it's a really enjoyable one, and with 75% off, you really can't go wrong here. Blazing Beaks is a great little game to play with friends. Levels are randomly generated, and you can play story mode with a friend cooperatively or alone. Either way, it's a blast. If you want to compete against friends, then there is a tournament mode too to test your skills against each other. For us, we loved how simple it was to pick up and play and get into. Blasting foes is super fun, and this is a strong pick at a really brilliant price. Originally released with support for 2-player co-op, this was boosted up to 4 players in a patch, and it's a welcome addition to this quirky, heavily randomized survival game. This one is all about risk versus reward. There are decisions to be made throughout this journey, and each playthrough is unique, but always features hilarious moments, making it a great hangout game. And I love the different characters that you get. You've got like Cloud, Strife, and all sorts of players that you can uncover. Digerati have released a whole bunch of bundles, and a few of them are on sale this week, and my favourite of the bunch is this Couch Co-op Volume 2 bundle that includes Black Paradox, Shikondo Soul Eater, Bleed, and Vertical Drop. It's a really varied assortment of games that are all a blast in local co-op. With 85% off, it's superb value and the perfect pickup if you and your family and mates are looking for a couple of games to enjoy one evening, and what's more, because of the variation, there's something for everybody in this package. The Contra series brings back fabulous memories. I remember having an NTSC adapter on my SNES so I could play US releases as a kid, and one of my absolute favourites was Contra 3, The Alien Wars. Along the same lines as the Castlevania and arcade collections, this Contra collection from Konami features a bunch of 8 and 16-bit classics in this superb series that to this day displays some of the best run and gun gameplay ever. What makes the series stand out is the difficulty and excellent quality in every title of the series. There are no duff games here. At less than $5, this is such a great deal. And if you're in the UK or EU, you might want to check out creating an account in the US so you can buy this game. Aegis Defenders had a long path to release after a successful Kickstarter campaign, and what we got is a game that was well worth the delay. This one combines platforming with tower defense in a novel and interesting way, combining strategic play with precision. There's a lot going on with a decent story, a gorgeous world, and plenty of secrets to find. The game works well in solo or in co-op, making it a trusty addition to anyone's Switch library. This is one of those games that highlights the value of indie titles. It's different and not polished in some ways, and yet very thought out and cleverly crafted in another. Set to the format of an EP, each of the short stages tells a charming tale with some small amount of gameplay set to a great tune. It's a kind of game that is worth experiencing, but you won't want to go back in as it's short and the full price can make it poor value. But with a chunky sale, it's worth trying out. With all the hype around Cyberpunk 2077, it seems to be that these games are in vogue at the moment. And Dex is a side-scrolling RPG with bags of character and lots of nice mechanics, from narrative choices that are well voiced to a deep leveling system. The combat and a few other small areas detract just slightly. This is one of those cases of big ambitious project that is good but could really have been fantastic. Nevertheless, with 70% off, it's a unique and decent experience, especially if you're after something set in a cyberpunk world. If you ever wanted a first-person shooter roguelike set in an Aladdin-style Arabian setting, complete with a handy whip that you use for various tasks, then hey, this is the niche game that you were looking for. Your goal is to get to the center of a procedurally generated world, picking up loot and slaying skeletons along the way. It's a cool idea and has good elements, though it's definitely not without its flaws. With 90% off though, it's now really well priced. Figment is a fantastical look into the inner workings of the human mind. It challenges depression, joy, and the full spectrum of our inner thoughts in a playful puzzle game. The visual style is wonderful in my opinion, and the colours and quirky ideas of the mindscape are portrayed really well. The puzzles and gameplay for the most part are good, but they're not great. There is some light combat and some tracking back to figure out how to progress. Overall, this is a very enjoyable game, worth picking up if you want to go along for the ride. Valley is a first-person exploration game with an intriguing story and some nice mechanics involving a powered suit called Leaf. There isn't much combat or hard platforming really. Rather, this is like a visual novel which you explore. The world is stunning, but performance can become a little bit sluggish at times. With 80% off, however, it's definitely worth exploring. The grandfather of first-person shooters, remade from the ground up and lovingly ported to the Nintendo Switch with excellent controls and nice features like gyro, this proved that chunky games could be ported well. Aside from that, it's just one of the best shooters out there in its own right, let alone the nostalgia hit, worth every penny with 60% off. The Banner Saga series is a stunning blend of turn-based strategy and Norse mythology storytelling. The series came to its conclusion with a third installment, and whilst there is a trilogy bundle you can purchase, right now there is better value to be had by picking up the titles individually. Parts 1 and 2 have a lovely 80% off and come in at a much more reasonable $4.99 each, whilst the final comes in at $8.74 with 65% off. The games are thoroughly enjoyable from start to finish, though it has to be said, as you get further it can become a little bit repetitive. Nevertheless, this is a journey worth taking. And there you have it, folks, a bunch of eShop games that are worth your time. Let us know what your favourite pick is this week down below. Thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow with Jordan's roundup of this week's physical releases. And as mentioned, we're delighted to launch GamesXpanse, so be sure to check that one out if you're interested in PS5 and Xbox Series X games. That's it from us this week. Until next time, take care.